Hey everyone, so today I want to talk to you about how special each and every one of you are and why it's so important that your uniqueness, your glow, your light, your authentic self begins today. If it isn't already expressing its true self, today is the day you express your true self. I want to explain the difference between a predictable personality and a non-predictable personality. A human that you can control and a human that you cannot control. This is the kind of information I want to share with each and every one of you to give you a big picture as to why most of humanity conforms to a certain ideal, and the ones that do not want to conform are completely harassed, bullied, and rejected because they are the ones that are unpredictable. And that is not allowed in this system. So without going into all of the biology and the psychology that takes place and the chemistry that goes on within a human body when they're in a state of fear or fight or flight, all of you probably watching me have a pretty good idea what happens. But the result of any human being in a state of fight or flight is short-term running away from something, being in that motion where you're looking around, you're focused on your environment, and you're not thinking, you're not creative. There's no way that you could. If you think about it way back, if you ever were being chased by a tiger, the last thing you want to do is sit down and journal about what you want to do or what you want to imagine to create in your life. So that is part of this identity shift that's taken place, where it takes you completely out of alignment with your truth, and it's putting you into a box that is not going to allow you to grow. It's going to keep you predictable. Now, where I want to begin with this is when you have, which we do, a whole entire collective overrun by information that is done through fear tactics, information that keeps you suppressed, it keeps you from, innovating, it keeps you from creating new things. You only believe in what you see, so you're limited right off the bat. So a system that keeps you being something that you never came here to be. You're actually being conformed into something, you're being molded into something that you were never meant to be. And so for any of you who have gone most of your life feeling that who you are is not who you are, or you living the life that you're living isn't what you wanted to do, and you're like, why did I come here? Why would I experience this? You feel like there's more. You feel like you're unfulfilled. You feel like there's a void. And the reason why you have these feelings is because that is absolutely true. You're nowhere near expressing the real reason you came here, nor the highest potential that you're capable of. Because without your knowledge, you have become part of the system. And I always talk about the system, and people can look at it in a negative or positive way. To me, it's just awareness. Once you understand how you got caught up in the system, then you can understand how to get out of the system. Just as easy as you got in it is just as easy as you can get out of it. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. So what I want you to understand is most of humanity, and this is you, if you live every moment of every day in fear, worry, scarcity, anger, jealousy, insecurity, all of those negative feelings that make you feel yucky, these are part of the way of being in the fight or flight. You're in survival. You're just surviving. So this shuts off your creativity. The left brain is completely in charge. Everything's linear, everything's logical. And this is the key point that I want you to see what goes on here. When you're in fear, you're focused on your environment. When you think about being chased by something that you don't want to be chased by, where are you focused? You're focused on where to run, where to get safe, how to get away from whatever's trying to harm you, your environment. Pay attention to that for a moment. Now, why would they want you in an environment where you're living in fear and scarcity every single day? Well, it locks you into the environment. It locks you into the third dimension, which is your 3D physical reality, which means you're not even open or even aware of the other dimensions that are available for you to create what you want. So this is where I want you to understand the fight or flight. Most people live in scarcity and fear every single day. They don't escape it. The moments that you do have that small, tiny window of escape is when all of you have witnessed an experience when you're in the shower or when you're doing something. You've left the survival mode briefly and you're in the moment. You're no longer in the survival field. You're no longer locked into that. Your mind just escaped it and now you're in the moment. And that's when you get those downloads. That's when you feel really good. That's when you're like, oh my God, I got all this information. Where's all this coming from? You're in flow. You're not going up against the water. You're not out of alignment. You're in alignment. You're going with the flow of the energy. In my past reels, I say to you, if you continue to create from your environment, which is your 3D physical world, your bank account, what you see when you look in the mirror, how you're judged in the world, your environment, you continue to create more of your environment. Listen to how subtle the control of who we are takes place because we don't know who we are. When you live every day in fear and stress, you're focused on your environment. Now, I told you every day, no matter what you're doing, no matter whether you're aware of it or not, you are manifesting. You are co-creating your environment, your reality every single day. But what you're doing is your current environment, which is your circumstances, they are creating in your head, in your imagination, pictures, feelings, emotions, and then you project it back out into your environment, and that's your reality. So when you're in stress, when you're in fear, you are totally locked into your environment because you're trying to find out where it is that the threat is, and then you can escape the threat. But you're in this environment every day and all day. Most of humanity live all day in a threatened environment, in stress, in anxiety, in fear, in worry. So you are constantly only locked into the third dimension. This is how they keep you out of the other dimensions, your fourth dimension, which is your imagination, and creating what it is that you desire. And then you go back to thinking again, and boom, you're locked right back into the scarcity, the fear, the worry, the rush, the hurry, and now you're back in focused on your environment. So what I want you all to get is what you focus on is going to be more of your reality. If you're focused on your environment, which is what happens when you're in a state of fear, you're living in survival, then you're only going to keep creating more of your environment. So this is one of the things I wanted you to understand. How you escape it is how you got locked into it. It's because of being in the state of fear and survival every day, which only allows you to focus on your environment because that is your threat. Do you understand that? It's predictable. They've got you. They predict your moves. They know exactly what you're going to do. Because when you are in a state of fear, it's very easy to predict and control the movement of those people. Now, you're unpredictable when you no longer are controlled by fear and you create whatever you desire, which worries these aliens trying to control humanity and this timeline because they're trying to guide all of humanity down one road. And that road is the timeline they want. Now, if you're unpredictable, if you have free will and you can think independently from the brainwashing, you're a threat and you can change the timelines. Now, one of the things I really want you to understand now is when you have free will and you're not controlled by mind control, by propaganda, your mind and your consciousness is free to choose the life that you want, you are unpredictable. Because there's no straight lines in nature. So to think that time is linear, I hope that blows it out of the water for you. Time is not linear. Nothing is a straight line in nature. Nothing on how reality works is in a straight line. So what I want you to understand is that when you are in flow, when you are aligned with your truth, when you raise your frequency and you tap into different information, different levels of consciousness, you are a different human. You're no longer locked into your environment. You're free to allow yourself to be multidimensional, to go into the quantum field, use your imagination, which is in dimension 4, and start to create new things, not predictable things. So let me go back. When you're locked into fear and scarcity, you're focused on your current environment. Your current environment isn't friendly. It isn't nice. It's probably something you want to escape. You want to create something better. Well, when you're locked into that, you keep creating the same thing. This is where, for all of you who are maybe on the fence, there's a lot of people that just do not want that life. They just want to follow the system, live their day, predictable every day because it feels safe, and that's okay. But these reels are not for you. These reels are for you that are on that brink where you know that you want something different. But when you get the understanding of how everyone's been hooked up to this false simulation, this false way of being through your mind, then you can get out of it through your mind by no longer being a predictable human. Now you have to understand, a lot of you heard that they ran this simulation a couple years prior to 2020. They are predicting the outcomes of humanity based on the reactions, the fear, the control. You're predictable. the fringe ones, right? Like the truckers that, did that amazing thing in Ottawa, and many other people refused the control tactics. They're able to now see who they do not have under control. How much of the percentage of the population are non-controllable by the brainwashing, by these tactics, by the dogma, right? Because you are all the ones who threaten the system. You threaten their timeline, which is basically their lifeline. Because you are unpredictable. You're unpredictable. You create from the quantum field. You're connected deeply to source. You're living your life through your intuition, through what you desire, what you want, not what they're telling you to want, not what they're telling you and how to live your life. You want no part of that. Now, there are many reasons for what they're doing with the cloud, the AI cloud that I talked about in my reels recently. But one of the biggest reasons, and you've heard a lot of people talk about this at the WF, is free will is over. Well, this is what I want you to understand, what free will gives all of you. It gives you all autonomy. It gives you a way of creating your own life by using the powers, the forces that are available to you in higher dimensions, to be able to co-create with our Creator and manifest anything that you choose, because you're free to choose, because you didn't fall for the propaganda and the brainwashing. Or if you ever did, you have now awakened from it, and now you're ready to take back your life. You're ready to live your life your way and not the way the system tells you. So you are not predictable anymore. You're unpredictable. Free will is the unpredictable part, because you don't know what you're going to do. You're going to get a download. You're going to do something. You cannot predict, and you should not try to predict what you're going to do in the next 6 months or the year. This is why listening to your intuition and following your heart is the most powerful part. It keeps you on your toes. It keeps you aligned with abundance and truth and happiness, but it also keeps you unpredictable, because you, the human, shouldn't even know. Don't predict anything. Allow things to come to you, listen to them, and go. And that's what makes you unpredictable. But when you are predictable, you are controlled. That's just the way it is. Because fear predicts every move you make, which is basically no moves. You don't do much because you're scared of everything, because they've got you so wound up with all these lies that if you do this, this is going to happen. If you do this, the world's going to end. If you do this, you're going to get this disease. If you do this, it's going to fail. If you do this, blah, 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 fill in the blank. Fear, fear, fear. But for you who no longer want to fall for that, you want to become unpredictable. You want to create a life that you love. And creating a life that you love cannot become through fear, worry, or doubt, which means you got to get out of the survival and you got to get into thriving. You got to become independent from the system, not dependent on the system. And that's when your whole entire life changes.